What's the most annoying channel you come across on social media? For me, it's this garbage that they put out on this thing called Punters politics. It's this left-wing socialist mentality that is peddled by this bloke that doesn't have a clue what he is talking about. We hear this sanctimonious bullshit that comes out of this bloke's mouth all the time. He's peddling falsehoods, misinformation. He is simply a shill for the renewables industry. He's anti-mining, he's anti-business, and this sort of like socialist sentiment that he is peddling. This is what leads a country down the road to Venezuela. This is what happened in Venezuela, where they thought they could get rid of business and government could run anything. This is the mentality that this bloke is promoting. We know what happened in Venezuela. The people ended up starving. They had to slaughter the zoo animals so people could eat. That's the direction the country will go if we keep listening to this bloke. So let's go through his latest piece of complete garbage and sanctimonious nonsense, and let's tear it apart piece by piece and get the facts on the table and call this bloke out for the misinformation that he's peddling. Firstly, here's the full piece that he's recently put up on his social media platform.
I'm not anti-mining.
Oh.
I'm pro-paying what you owe. If the contract's shit for the everyday Aussie punter, why should we keep delivering on that? If the rules were rigged to
So you're
disadvantage...
Own the coal,
yeah, I own the coal. It's my coal.
no,
I own the coal. It's my coal.
No, you're going to...
It's my coal. And if I want to charge 15%...
you want to own the coal like Russia owns the coal. So you want to have a...
Oh, like Norway owns the oil.
Country. You want a communist country.
That's not communism. It's capitalism. It's my coal. I want my dividend. I want my dividend.
You say Russia's a
Norway's not a communist country. They get a 78% royalty on their oil. It's quite high. Did they leave? No. If I charge you 15%, are you going to leave? No.
Oil's not what we do. We're not talking about oil.
Where else are you going to get the coal? Where else are you going to get the coal?
We're talking about oil.
That's mining. Exactly.
Yeah.
So the oil companies didn't leave Norway because the oil's there. The coal companies aren't going to leave Australia because the coal's where? It's here. So I can charge you what I want because it's my coal.
Well, you could.
So I can charge you what I want because it's my coal. Norway's not a communist country. They get a 78% royalty on their oil.
Okay, so let's go through these claims he's made very quick fire, one at a time. He said here, and I quote, "I own the coal. I want my dividend. I want my dividend."
Yeah, I own the coal. It's my coal. It's my coal. I want my dividend.
Well, he's making out he doesn't get any dividend. Mate, you're already getting a dividend paid for in royalties in billions of dollars. Let's just go through what the royalty rates are in New South Wales and Queensland, the main export states. Right? And this bloke says, "I want my dividend." Mate, well, this is the dividend you are getting. In New South Wales, and this has only recently just gone up. It went up in 2024. The open cut mines used to pay 8.2% royalty. That's now gone up to 10.8. Underground was 7.2. That's gone up to 9.8%. And deep underground has gone up from 6.2 to 8.8%. Very substantially large jumps there in the royalties for coal. In Queensland, they've also put them up. Now, the Queensland rates are, this is what they used to be. For $100 or under, it was a 7% royalty, and this is on the sell price. From 100 to 150 bucks a tonne, it was 12.5%. Over 150 bucks a tonne, it was 15%. And that's where it used to be. And the Queensland government thought, no, we will rewrite these rules. And they put these extra rates in. So they put in an extra rate from $150 to $175. It's still now 15%. But from $175 to $225, the rate is 20%. From $225 to $300 a tonne, it's 30%. And over $300 a tonne, it's a 40% royalty. So please, Punters politics, don't come on and say, "I want my dividend, I want my dividend," pretending you're not getting anything, when each year it's close to $10 billion. It varies from year to year depending on the price of coal. But it's like $10 billion, and that's just in royalties, gets paid. And this bloke pretends, "I want my dividend." What a sanctimonious piece of work. Yeah? Now let's, as an example also, "I want my dividend, I want my dividend." Let's take example Whitehaven Coal. Now, Whitehaven Coal have got mines in both New South Wales and Queensland. You can see here from the map from their annual report. Now they report at Whitehaven Coal that they pay royalties, average royalties in both states of $24 a tonne. So that last year was $346 million in royalties. That's the dividend that you get, Punter, from this company, one company, $346 million. That's just the royalties. On top of those royalties, they paid another $154 million in company tax. So royalties and company tax, Whitehaven Coal tipped in to the state government and federal government coffers directly $500 million, $500 million from just Whitehaven Coal, one company alone. And then on top, you've got all the, what's not counted in that $500 million is, of course, all the payroll tax that goes on the wages and the salaries that they pay. All the GST, so when those employees get their pay, they go and spend that money in all the local shops. That GST all goes to the government. So the multipliers through the system are enormous. So there's $500 million from just Whitehaven Coal gets paid, what was it, $346 million in royalties to the Queensland State Government, and another $154 million in company tax to the federal government, plus all the other hundreds of millions of dollars that get paid through personal tax, which their employees pay, and the GST on the goods that they sell. Now, and you've got this punter bloke going, I want my dividend, I want my dividend. Typical of a clueless socialist that just wants more and free stuff.
My coal. I want my dividend.
Russia's a communist
I want
country.
my
You say
dividend.
Russia's a
Secondly, this punter bloke says, I own the coal, it's my coal.
You're gonna
Yeah,
say-
I own the coal. It's my coal.
No, you're going to.
It's my coal. And if
Well, mate, the states own the coal. So technically, if you're a resident of Queensland or New South Wales, yes, you technically own the coal. But the thing that you not seem to understand, that coal in the ground is worth nothing. It is worth nothing. It is not worth a cent until you get a company that's come in to put their capital on the line, to risk money for exploration, to getting coal mining equipment, to building the mine, to building the freight network to get it to the port. Unless all those expenses are paid by that company and you get that coal to the port where it can be exported, the coal is not worth a cent. So to sit here and say, it's my coal, I own the coal, mate, really, you haven't got a clue what you are talking about. Third thing here, he likes to go on about Norway. Now, he says here, and again, let's quote him directly, Norway gets 78% royalty on their oil.
Russia's a
Norway is not a communist country, they get 78% royalty on their oil.
Well, mate, that is 100% incorrect. Norway, you have got the numbers wrong. You have confused royalties with company tax and tax payments. In Norway, there is no royalties on oil. Yes, they pay a special tax rate, but the tax rate is levied on net profits. So if a company doesn't make any net profits, they get their oil for free because there are no royalties. Remember, royalties are paid as a percentage of the goods that are sold. So here in Whitehaven's case, they were paying $24 a tonne on average. Right? The tax in Norway goes on the company's profits after tax and after depreciation. Actually, a 100% depreciation allowance that companies in Norway are able to get. So just take the comparison, because this is very important for people that go on about Norway, to understand the fundamental differences between Norway's oil industry and Australia's coal industry. Because it is like comparing not apples with oranges, it is like comparing apples with potatoes. Now the difference is that Norway's cost of production for oil is very, very low. Now I've got from their report here, this Norwegian oil company, Aker BP. Now they report a production cost of $5.70 US for a barrel of oil. But they also report a sale price of $75 per barrel. So from the cost price, what it cost them to produce, to the sale price, they're getting a 1,200% markup. $5.70 the cost of production, $75 is their sell price. Now let's compare that to the data in Whitehaven's annual report. They report a production price average across their mines in New South Wales and Queensland of $120 a tonne and a sell price, average sell price of $228. So their markup from cost of production to sell price is 90%. In Norway, it is 1,200%. So that gives Norway much greater scope to put much higher taxes and other that they can extract from companies in the mining and oil industry. So there's a huge difference in the cost structure of the oil industry in Norway and the coal industry in Australia that gives the Norwegian government much greater scope to tax the oil at much heavier rates. Now, also for those that go, Norway, we should be copying Norway's tax system. Well, to start with, Norway has a 25% value-added tax or GST and a 15% on basic food items. So they are paying, so that if you want to copy Norway's tax system, my word, go ahead. That means everything in the supermarkets is going to cost 15% more. It means you're going to have a 25% GST. That's what it means if you want to copy the Norway system. And maybe we might like to copy Norway's migration rate, because in 2024, Norway had a net migration rate of 44,356 people. We had over 444,000. So we've had 10 times the migration rate here in Australia than what they've had in Norway. So if you want to copy that, by all means, go ahead. And here's an interesting comparison as well. Compare the statements in the annual reports between Aker BP, which is a Norwegian oil company, and Whitehaven Coal here in Australia. Now, it's interesting to note, as net profit as a percentage of sales, so net profit, what gets returned to shareholders as a percentage of sales, Whitehaven, it's 355 million profit on 3.8 billion in sales. So it's 9% of the company's sales, Whitehaven, goes back to shareholders. At Aker BP, it is 19%. So so shareholders in that Norwegian oil company are actually getting twice as much in net profit from the sales of their oil as Whitehaven is for coal. And the other interesting point to make, which always gets forgotten, the effective rate of tax. If you calculate the Norway that they do it, we see here the Aker BP paid just over 71, 72% corporate tax rate or special tax, total tax rate, which includes the special tax that they add on for oil companies. Now, but that includes both because there's no royalties in Norway, it's just this special tax only. So if you looked at Whitehaven's annual report, if you took out the taxes that they paid before taxes and you put the royalties back in, they would have had $855 million worth of profit and paid $500 million in tax on that. So that would give Whitehaven Coal an effective tax rate of close to 60% if you add those two things in. So please, don't come along and pretend that Australian companies here are not paying any tax and Norway is the way to go. Because you are comparing, as I said, apples with potatoes. Next, you've got this sanctimonious and ignorant comment from this Punters politics talking about coal. I can charge you what you want because it's my coal. Where else are you going to get the coal?
You're going to get the coal.
We're
Where else are you
talking
going to get the coal?
We're talking about
That's
oil,
mining.
mining.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So The oil companies didn't leave Norway because the oil's there. The coal companies aren't going to leave Australia because the coal's where? It's here. So I can charge you what I want because it's my coal.
Well, this bloke obviously has no idea that we in here in Australia operate in a competitive international market. Obviously, the bloke just hasn't got a clue about business and shouldn't be talking about these things. The reality is, when it comes to hard coal, Australia we have the total proven resources, we've got less than 9%, around 9%. So over 90% of the world's known resources of hard coal are outside of Australia. To just think that, we can charge whatever we want to and we'll still have these coal industries is just cloud cuckoo land. This is just the ignorance of the socialist mentality. We've got to make sure that we set our tax rates here and our royalty rates here that are internationally competitive, because we've got to sell that coal on international markets and we have to be competitive, and there's plenty of other places that countries can get their coal from. Just have a look at the coal that's produced, the thermal coal that comes out of Indonesia compared to Australia. If we put too high a tax on our coal, no one will buy it. You got this clown, this punter going, it's my coal, where else are you going to get the coal from? Well, mate, there are plenty of other countries where people can get coal from. We don't have a monopoly in this space. Finally, what's really dangerous of this punter's politics, he says here, if the contract's shit for everyday Aussie punters, why should we keep delivering on that?
If the contract's shit for the everyday Aussie punter, why should we keep delivering on that?
So what he's actually saying is these contracts should be broken. Now, firstly, the government is already altering these contracts. These companies set up to produce and invested their capital and set these mines up knowing what the royalty rates were, but we've seen both the New South Wales government and the Queensland government substantially jack up the royalty rates over the last couple of years, the royalty percentages that they have to pay. So if you go around breaking these contracts, you only have to do them once. Break these contracts once, and that is what is called sovereign risk. Already we are fighting for international capital to develop our resources here in Australia. There are plenty of other places around the world where companies can go for coal and all other resources, not just here in Australia. So if we think that we can go around and break contracts, what are companies going to think about when they sign a contract with the government if they know the government's going to walk away from it or break that contract, which is exactly what this punter is implying, that we should be breaking contracts. This is dangerous, dangerous socialist stuff. This punter's politics is feeding Australians lies and misinformation. And it's lies and misinformation that will end up putting Australia on the road to Venezuela. We've got to call this bloke out. We've got to call out the BS that he puts out. We've got to keep doing it because he is damaging Australia's national interests. What he is doing, he is a shill for the renewables industry. He is a shill for higher rates of migration. To him, everyone else is a bludger. But the biggest bludgers in this country are all those renewable rent seekers. They are the ones that are pocketing subsidies, pushing up electricity costs, the anti-mining. A complete and utter sanctimonious hypocrite. And that's why we've got to keep calling this punter's politics out, to try and let people wake up about what a con job that he's running.